So I've talked a lot about why the 2017 Bolt will be turning in its lease in June this year, and why the 2020 Bolt probably isn't going to be the car that we would go with to replace it. But how then do I explain this? So in terms of why a 2020 Bolt EV, after all the talk of it being incremental improvement, not really enough for what we were looking for, well, it pretty much simply comes down to the deals. They offered us a deal we couldn't refuse, as the saying goes. This is a Premier, so it's essentially the same equivalent of what we have in our 2017, but updated for 2020, which means the 259 miles EPA range, which translates to about 66 kilowatt hours over the Bolt's original 238 miles and 60 kilowatt hour pack. Essentially, it's half the price. The deal we got, obviously, on the previous one was good by 2017 standards, and actually still holds up against 2020 standards in some parts of the country. But the deals in Massachusetts and in California, from what I gather, have been exceptional. They were much cheaper than I expected them to be. I thought there would be fire sales on the 2019 models to get rid of them out of inventory, and I presumed that GM would kind of hold firm on the 2020 for a while, at least while there aren't that many competitors. You know, it jumps ahead of the Hyundai Kona Electric, albeit only by 1 mile. In terms of range, it's a proven, capable EV, the Bolt EV, so I kind of assumed, well, they're going to be trying to push, use the tax credit they've got, the remaining $1,875 of federal tax credit, until that sunsets on March the 31st, 2020. But that was not to be. As soon as these things hit lots around the start of January, at least in my part of the world here in New England, they started deeply discounting. There's, according to some reports, up to about $10,000 off, with various lease loyalty, and $5,000 to $6,000 off the MSRP, and that's why we're in it. This is we've talked about a bridge EV and having something to take us through to the next, slightly larger vehicle, longer range, faster charging, etc. This delivers a little bit on the range, from what I can tell, and haven't had a chance to test it yet. Does not deliver on the faster charging. It's no bigger, it's the same size of car, but the Bolt EV from 2017 has done us proud for almost 3 years now. We had looked at maybe a used EV, or something that was a bit older, just to kind of keep us running locally until we could get something newer. But the reality is that aside from the Tesla Model Y, the cars we're looking at, the Ford Mach-E, the VW ID4, and a bunch of others that are supposed to come out, will probably not be, in North America en masse until early 2021 at the soonest. It's got slightly nicer features inside with the cameras. I'm going to do a full video comparing the current 2017 that we have, which we did not replace, didn't swap it out immediately for various reasons. So we'll have 2 Bolt EVs for a while, and that will enable a comparison. But essentially, this ticks a lot of the boxes for the things we need in the year ahead, and probably, at least up to 18 months. I wanted to also talk about, taking this now down to Austin, Texas for Fully Charged Live instead of the 2017. So I do a little bit of driving, testing, making sure everything works here at the newly expanded Lexington, Massachusetts charge point. Actually pretty broad array today. Usually it's Teslas and Bolts, but we have a Kia Soul EV, one of the older ones, because the newer ones aren't in USA dealerships yet. Obviously 2020 Bolt EV here, Ford Fusion Energy, and the required Tesla Model 3 over on the far plug. So there's 5 plugs here now. So it might seem a bit of a no-brainer. Of course, this is the newer car. It has 21 more miles on the range, and improved winter fast charging performance. Lends itself to a winter road trip over 4,000 miles down to Austin. Part of me wants to test the 2017, that's the first model year Bolt EV. If that can do it, then everything that comes after it should, in theory, be able to do it. I know that car, you know, like the back of my hand. I know exactly how far it'll go on a charge in winter or any other season. I know what it will do when I'm on the road, and I know that everything works. You know, we've done 2,500 mile trips on it before, and I have no qualms about taking it. Generally found the Bolt EV very reliable, and a lot of people say the same thing, so I don't really have any great qualms about taking it. But it's a new car, and that question mark always is up in the air when there's something, you know, it's got 60 miles on it right now as opposed to almost 30,000 on our 2017. So that is the decision. Previously on the last trip home for the holidays, which I'll link up here somewhere, we had to stop in Lee, Massachusetts for a quick bump up charge on the EV Go there. This should get us out of state in any direction with no problems at all. That extra 10% range should see us through. So although in most cases that won't make a big difference, here it could be the difference between having to stop off an extra charge stop, which I don't really want to do. The increased range obviously over 2,000 miles down there and 2,000 miles back, that you know, in one small stint it might not make a difference, but adding up over the course of all those miles, that could make the trip a lot quicker. It makes it something I can test. It adds another, you know, it was already quite an interesting road trip from my perspective, an EV road trip, but going in a new car that, you know, nobody has really had a chance to get very far out on the road, this will be, you know, a great opportunity to see how the fast charging works. Is it improved in the colder parts of the country when we charge in upstate New York, Cleveland, Ohio? We'll see how the range translates to real world use. Anyone who's already in a Bolt, this is what the new one will do. If your lease is coming up, is the 2020 worth the extra? Although it's not extra, it's, you know, it's half the price for us, but, you know, is it worth you getting into another one or holding off for slightly more capable, faster charging EVs, ones with longer range, whatever. So we'll be doing all that content, but let's talk about Fully Charged Live, the road trip down there, and what you can expect to see. So in addition to the usual channels, the Twitters, the Instagrams for kind of day-to-day feed of visuals and updates, and what I hope will be regular road reports. It'll be tough to edit on the road, obviously, but I hope to have some time to do those. A fair warning, these could be much less, you know, thought out videos. They may just be, here's what happened today and here's a rough cut, basically. I'll do all the full normal road trip videos further along once I get back. But for now, it's going to be 5 to 10 minute videos, you know, whenever I can squeeze them in, letting you know where I went, how it turned out, whether the chargers were all reliable, costs, whatever I can throw at the wall and have stick. I'll try and get as much information for you as possible. We'll try live streaming a little bit on YouTube. I don't know how that's going to go, never really done it before, but hopefully that'll give a little bit of you know, in the moment footage for whoever's around to tune in. And then we have this app which I'm going to try out, Polarsteps, which is something that Harvey Soicher, a Canadian who did a massive trip in his e-Tron, Audi e-Tron last year, which is definitely worth a look. I'll link either down below or up above if I can. But Polarsteps is this app. It's a kind of interactive travel app. The route, it's pretty nice interface. You can kind of scroll along, see what's coming day after day. There's different stuff that I'll do on there, posting pictures, updates, that kind of thing. It's just me flying solo on this one, so I should have plenty of time to update the different platforms, post some pictures, and just generally keep you abreast of where we are on the journey and how it goes. Yeah, fingers crossed, big trip and a new car to do it in. What more could you want? See you on the road.